This is Baseline, a podcast about baseball for people who know nothing about baseball. I'm Kyle.
And I'm Andrew. And this is our gripe podcast.
This is our baseball gripe podcast. Hey, Chris Davis, he's back in the news because
The
on
guy just
420,
keeps being in the limelight.
That's right. 420 Blaze It. He threw a strikeout.
Smoke weed every day.
I missed
That's
the cue,
right.
but I got it in anyway.
Close enough. Chris Davis every day because he's in the news every time we have an episode now.
A strikeout every day.
Yeah, okay. Now we both have him, which is good. Which is good for me. He throws a pitch. It is like an 82 mile per hour like cutter, I guess. It comes in like fastball like, and then it cuts to the right. Do you see that where it just like sort of drifts to the right a little bit? It looks like it's about to go in on him, and then it goes and kind of swings to the right.
I did see that, yeah.
It's a good look. It's a very good look. We should say also Chris Davis, who was the one, the subject of our Futility Mark episode a couple episodes back.
Right, he's the first baseman.
Not the pitcher, right?
Yeah.
And now he's pitching. Which I guess if we can jump down the document a little bit we're going to skip this one real quick. Cut 4 has a thread of, this one is starting pitchers pinch hitting, but they have a thread of position players pitching, and they do it with like the I guess emoticon looking, Beyonce dance moves.
Right.
And it is a thread that has started, I think, since March 30th when that was the first time that this happened. And now we're like 11 or 12 into this, and there are position players who have had to come into games and pitch because teams ran out of pitchers during a regular game.
Yep.
Is this something that you knew of baseball? Is this something you expected of baseball? I guess is a better question. Or is this just, does this sound super weird and you don't understand why it's happening?
I understand why it's happening, but no, I didn't realize that you could run out of pitchers, as it were, which I guess isn't really running out of pitchers so much as just not wanting to play your pitchers too much. Or is that not the case?
No. You're right. That's true. That's I guess.
It's not like there's a limit on how many times a pitcher can pitch or whatever, and then they're done.
There is actually in a game. So in baseball, a pitcher can only, as long as they went out to the mound to pitch and they were taken out, that's it. That's their one. Pitchers are sort of one and done.
Okay, so once you remove them, you can't send them back in.
That is correct. Yes.
Interesting.
So you'll see, last night, I think
you
it was
have to
last
deploy
night.
them tactically.
You do. Yeah. It's all, baseball is kind of all about pitching, right? As much as baseball is setting the lineup and deciding where to hit, if you believe in that sort of thing, and all of the other hubbub around baseball, it's a lot of pitching. It's mostly pitching decisions. Every pitch matters, whether you throw it in, whether you follow up a fastball with a curve or whatever you do, right? Like a lot of the strategy around baseball lies in the pitching. You'll also sometimes see not just position players coming in to pitch, but you will see pitchers, and the example I have here, starting pitchers, coming in to pinch hit because you need to change out a pitcher, or the pitcher's spot has come up and you have to switch them out. So you need a pinch hitter, and all you've got is a starting pitcher. This happens, I think, most often when you do have a pitcher that can hit kind of well. Pitchers are notoriously bad at hitting, but if you get like a Madison Bumgarner who has hit, X number of home runs, I believe could be in the double digits at this point in his career in the major leagues. You're in a kind of okay spot. Like, you would rather have Madison Bumgarner pinch hit than you would your third string catcher sometimes, just because he can see the ball better. He gets, more hours on the field, and he's just kind of a better ball player. But
Right.
that's the kind of thing that I guess is not. It is, I guess, a symptom of long inning games. Sometimes this one in particular was a 14 inning display at Angels Stadium here in Anaheim. And there is a subsequent image of a woman holding up a sign that says "Send coffee."
Yeah, I guess this was 2:40 in the morning Eastern time, which is still pretty late Pacific time where the game was being played. So
yeah, we were coming up to midnight, and I saw that tweet, and I was like, "Oh, is that game still on?" And no, it ended in 14, thankfully. But you'll get games that go 18. Innings sometimes, 17 innings. 12 innings seems like a pretty long game, but 14 is on the cusp there of like, well, all right. We're in it for the long haul. And that's where actually like you're trying to avoid things like injury. You're trying to make sure that players don't get hurt, or like that you save your starting pitcher for the next day. You don't want to play that person and then have
they can go and have a nap.
Right. Yes, exactly. Or they'll actually get a slot. The person whose workout day was supposed to be that day, they'll put them out and just be like, it really super doesn't matter how you pitch in this game now. Like, just get your workout in, but like in a live game context. And that's fine. We're okay with that. Whatever happens to the game. You've got 162 of these things. Mm-hmm. If you're going to like micromanage game 24 of the season, your head is not in the right spot for baseball. I think it's a long game, but like we're still strangely kind of at the point where it doesn't necessarily matter that much.
Right.
Baseball. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter that much. You also have another link in here for Twitter.com, the website, this is from NBC Sports Athletics, also I guess, Bay Area sports thing that you can get on their cable TV service. They say, OMG, the greatest double play ever. Can you describe what's happening?
Yeah, so let me roll it back here on my screen. So the A's are fielding, it looks like.
Yep.
And the batter hits a fly ball out to like center-ish field, and the catcher basically grabs it from just sort of above the fence and manages to hurl it.
This is one of those things like in baseball where you see home runs being robbed from people because the outfielder, in this case the center fielder, ran
they can
all
get to the ball
way
and
out.
get up there.
Yeah, he jumped just exactly at the right time.
Right.
Literally reached over the wall with their glove and grabbed it while it was in midair and pulled it back in. And that's not a home run since they caught it before it hit the ground.
And then just hurled it towards first base. It overshot first base, but then it looks like the catcher got hold of it and threw it to second base in time for the second baseman to get the runner out. So that was a double play.
Right. So all of this was happening while there was someone on first, and because it was a pop out there in center field, the first baseman was like, or the person who was on first, excuse me, decided to run. Like, that's a home run, right? Like, there's no way that that's going to be caught. And because it did get caught, they need to go tag up on the base that they were at previously. So he has to run all the way back to first. Now, he's in the spot where, because that was overthrown from the outfielder that caught it all the way over first base, and, like you were saying, the catcher was back there to back it up. So but he's like, oh, that's it. Like, that's going to be probably like a ground rule double or something. I'm going to take off and try and steal second now, because the game at this point is still 0-0. He's thinking, I got to get a run on the board. I need to get in scoring position. And instead, running very well, I should say.
Himself out.
Yeah. Completely out. By a mile. Great play.
Really great fielding by the A's. Despite the overthrown ball, but they managed to save it.
They did. They
Yeah.
definitely did. And this has got 1.32 million views now.
Mm-hmm.
At least maybe 200 of them are me just watching this over and over, trying to figure out how he throws it. It's mainly from the outfielder. Like, how does he throw? How does it come out of his hand like that and overshoot?
Yeah, that's
the bag.
That's the
far.
top reply is, how in the world do you overthrow that far from the outfield wall? Which is a great question, because that is a really far throw.
Yeah. And they are in they are at the, I don't know if it's O.Co Coliseum, but this is just the Oakland Coliseum. And this stadium is pretty huge. Like, the outfield wall is out there. And you end up actually with this, it is daytime too. So you end up with this kind of dead zone out there. It's Oakland. You're not getting a whole lot of sea breeze in that area. And then the sun likely dried things out quite a bit. So the day looks pretty hot. The ball's going to carry pretty far. Yeah. It's going to be pretty dry and light. So
this is one of the few remaining multi-purpose stadiums. So the outfield ends up being very long because it's actually made to accommodate the length of a football field.
That's right. Yeah, boy. And I mean, that's supposed to change. I have seen the Raiders stadium going up in Las Vegas, pretty much across the street from the T-Mobile Center, which is where the Vegas Golden Knights, the hockey team, plays. It's going to be like a dedicated football stadium. So what happens with the A's here is going to be interesting, I guess. The Warriors are moving away from across the street from the Coliseum, and the A's are going to be the only team in 1 or 2 seasons that are playing.
Yeah,
there.
It's kind of interesting. And I think they've said that they don't plan to move anytime soon.
There's been a lot of, I mean, we
or at
should
least
definitely,
I haven't heard of. Yeah.
Yeah. We should definitely have an episode dedicated to sort of like maybe just
stadiums.
I don't know, stadium logistics or like I don't want to lump stadiums into one episode, because I think we've touched a little bit on stadium going experiences and like how that is for us, you know, where we've been to and stuff. But how stadiums get made, I think, would require a little bit of research on our part to find out what is currently in flux, where could teams be going in the future. Because I'm not super interested in the historical part of this, but I mean, sports in Oakland definitely have a history, a part of the Pacific Coast League and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of history to be had here, but whether or not the A's stay in Oakland and keep that stadium, I think, is a big question mark right now. It would be interesting to me to actually do that research and bring you some answers or have a thoughtful conversation about it.
Yeah, that sounds like a mini series for the off season.
Yes, most definitely. Sort of our I was going to say hot box, but that's more 420 talk. Hot stove league.
Indeed. The hot box league.
Mm-hmm. All right. I wanted to then move us on to our topic, which I'm linking this over, was suggested by Olive Soup. That's SOOP. Great name. Stealing bases. So we alluded a little bit to I guess it wouldn't be base stealing in this case, but the runner trying to get from first base to second base on a pop fly. That's just typically like regular trying to get the runner over type stuff. Stealing bases, though, is a whole other thing. And there's a couple of parts about stealing bases I think that maybe you'll see either on TV or especially in person. This is a lot easier to see in person. Let's start it with the signs for base stealing, right? That's one of those things that you see in movies where they're just touching their nose and they're like, you know, quacking like a duck and making dumb hand signals that are supposed to confuse the opposition to make them think whether or not you are telling the runner on first to steal a base, to steal second base or whatever. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you've seen that in pop culture.
Yeah, for sure.
One thing you may not know, I guess, about this is that the signs between teams are all different. I think that's a given, but the signs between games also change. So, like, when I'm watching a game in person, I don't know, it's hard for me not to think of the logistics of how do you set these things up. They're not wearing like quarterback style wrist playbooks of, well, it's Tuesday, so tap, nose, shoulder means steal or whatever, right? Like they don't have a codex for Wednesday games and knowing what they're supposed to do. And I don't know how, I guess when you do it professionally, maybe you can keep it all up in that noggin, but otherwise, I mean, that sounds super difficult to me. That's the thing that I think it boggles my mind the most. The other thing that you may notice at a game is players typically are going to be stealing from first to second base. That's kind of your classic base stealing situation, where the pitcher is facing another batter and there is a runner on first trying to steal second, and they can kind of steal whenever they want. The pitcher is the one with the rules where he needs to do something called come set. He needs to come set before he can throw the pitch to the plate. Let's leave that for another time. Base stealing can happen anytime. And the reason why in at least Major League games, you will see players only steal right before a pitch is about to be thrown or as a pitch is being thrown is because it maximizes the amount of time the runner has to kind of get a head start on running to second base. And by the time that pitch is then thrown to the catcher has the opportunity to see how far that runner trying to steal the base is gone and then throw the ball to second base after that pitch has come in to try and get them out. That I think is the number one scenario where you'll actually see a player trying to steal second base. Please stop me if you've got questions, because like I feel like I'm just talking at you through a rule book right now, and I don't necessarily like this language is very generalized and also not super pointed to be clear, and so if I'm being unclear, please stop me or ask questions.
I know that we talked about too. You have your sort of standard stealing base, which is usually from first base, but could be from any of the bases. But then there's also the form of stealing a base when, what is it? When the third strike isn't caught properly and you can try and make a run for it anyway.
Yes. So that's, I think, the weirdest scenario of trying to steal a base other than trying to steal home. We'll talk about stealing home in a second, but stealing first after you have struck out on a pitch is a weird, really, really weird way to get to first. Yeah. So the scenario that has to happen here is the pitch has to be thrown. You can, I guess what in this scenario you would try to hit the ball and you'd miss the ball completely. However, the catcher would then drop the ball or have it sort of like dribble away from them a little bit on your third strike. And now you as the batter have the opportunity to run to first base. You're still out technically, but you have the opportunity to run to first base and stay there. The catcher then has to either grab the ball and tag you as you're running to first or throw it to first for the strikeout. to be completed. It's really strange. It's one of my least favorite.
It seems like kind of a
parts
loophole on the whole like 3 strikes and you're out thing, and it's like, well, if you get 3 strikes but they don't catch the strike properly, you can make a run for it, and if you get on the base, then like it's fine.
Yeah, well, and you'll sometimes see like you won't see players try to steal first all the time after they get their 3rd swinging strike. They may just kind of stand around home plate, but you'll see the catcher tag the player that just struck out just to kind of double make sure that they're out. They're actually out. You don't want to risk them just kind of walking away a little bit and then running to first after you've, I don't know, thrown it to the third baseman to, have your little rally around the diamond after you strike a guy out. So that's a really strange scenario that you do actually see quite often. You'll see it at least once in a game, usually. Not my favorite, but stealing home. This is when baseball gets super exciting, I think. So you can, of course, steal second. You can steal third if you are like trying to advance the runner. And I don't know, there's another runner on first. You can double steal at the same time. But stealing home is very dangerous.
Right. A particularly brave and daring thing to do, given that the pitcher and catcher are, of course, in position to very easily get the ball between home plate and the pitcher's mound.
Right. Well,
more so than any other base.
Yeah. It would be like if on every pitch it went to first base and you just decided, well, I'm going to steal that one, or second base, right?
Yeah.
It's really weird to try to steal the base that both position players are at, like you said. But in the only scenarios that I've seen this really work, and the only, you really won't see people trying other than when a pitcher throws the ball to the catcher and it's either a wild pitch or the catcher misses the ball and it kind of gets away from them a little bit. It's dangerous in this case, dangerous, I guess, game-wise, like baseball theory-wise, to try to steal home base in this scenario, because as a pitcher is throwing the pitch to the catcher, he is already sort of like, he's got his weight moving towards that base anyway. And so momentum-wise, especially if it gets away, the pitcher's going to run to cover home plate anyway when it gets kind of away from the catcher. And so you having, being however far away from third base you are right now with your leadoff, I guess we should talk about leadoffs, you are probably further away from home plate than the pitcher is at any given time. And so that is sort of that's the game you're playing. Can I get to home plate before the pitcher does and before the catcher tosses it back to the pitcher to tag him out? Mm-hmm. To get a runner out when someone is stealing, you need to actually physically touch them with the ball, either in your glove or with the ball itself, before that player touches the base. Mm-hmm. And the weird part about all this replay stuff that's happening is you will see super, super slow-mos of players' fingers just like coming a centimeter off of a base and then getting tapped with the ball, sort of, and umpires trying to discern whether or not, as they're sliding past second base here, if your hand came off and the ball tapped you while you weren't touching the base. That in that scenario, you would be considered out.
Right. So there's a lot of rules regarding that you have to be physically touching either the base or, the person on the base to either, be safe or tag them out.
Right. Yes, exactly. It's kind of like, a lot of this is probably easier described in diagrams or a WikiHow article, but I think there are enough scenarios in watching one whole game where you'll see players trying to steal. You'll see one or two different calls, whether it's out or safe, and you'll see why. It's worthwhile, I think, just to watch a game and pay attention to one aspect of it like this to see sort of the intricacies of it. It's really, really interesting. Now, leading off, you'll hear lead off for both the first person at bat, which is one of the words for that. You'll also hear lead off as the amount of space that you are separating yourself as the runner from the base before the pitch is thrown. Now, the leadoff from the base here is usually about a body length. We were talking, I think, last time about the Amazon AWS commercial where they're like showing the runner from first leading off a little bit. And saying like, well, his chances for stealing went from 80 to 85% after he like slid to the right 3 inches. That's not really a calculation you're probably making. But as a runner, you're trying to see like, okay, if the ball gets tossed back to the first baseman, do I have enough time to get back and touch the base so he doesn't tag me out?
Right. So
you're sitting in between first and second base a little bit. It's like teetering the line.
So a runner might, move a little bit off of the base so that they have a kind of head start to run or to attempt to steal. But then the danger that they run is that because they're not on the base, if they're not fast enough, the pitcher could throw the ball to the baseman and they could be tagged out.
Yeah, and you'll end up the situation here.
Off.
Yes, trying to pick off the runner. Now, if you feel like you've been picked off, you're going to start running instead of you're going to start running to the second base instead of trying to go back to first base, and you will likely end up in something called a pickle, which is where basemen on either side of you are tossing the ball back and forth, and you're running in between them, trying not to get tagged out. That's probably a game that most folks have played. I don't know. Or you feel like you're in a pickle, right? Like it's a common phraseology.
I feel like that doesn't typically end well for the runner.
Never does. Yeah. Never does. You may, if they fumble it somehow, like what you're trying to do is decrease.
If they do a really bad throw or something.
Yeah, exactly. You're trying to like increase the amount of risk involved in trying to tag you out. It is not, to be honest, it's not fun to watch. I don't really care for a runner trying to like, I don't know, play this silly game between 2 bases and players running around them trying to get them out. It's not fun for me. I feel like you've given up at that point. Like, just lay down. It's fine. We'll get somebody else in there. But that's
it seems like a kind of a quirk in the rules that you can be like in between bases and they're tossing back and forth or whatever.
Yeah, just doesn't feel too fair to me. Yeah. But yeah, that is stealing bases, a very complex art, I'd say, and something that is definitely about playing the game of baseball, but has nothing really to do with hitting or fielding or really any of that.
Yeah, it's a different
stuff.
It's a different thing. It's another layer on top of the sort of base level strategy of the game, the typical parts of the game that people think of.
Right. It is a little like, again, like I started describing this whole thing. There is sort of a meta game going on between like, what sign was it? Did he actually tell the runner to steal or not? Like, there's no real point in trying to read those signs, but it's an interesting part of the game that has existed forever and has not really changed at all. Like the strategy of it has not really changed that much, at least in the time that I've been watching. You'll see some players steal tops 50 bases in a year. It's not a very frequent thing that people are successful at. A lot of times, especially if you're going from first base to second base, you will be thrown out if you're not that quick. It's really a 50-50 chance. The players are so good at throwing you out, you're more likely to get thrown out in any given time than you are to be safe. It's
right. They
kind of
can probably
interesting.
toss the ball faster than you can run.
Yep, absolutely. So, there you go. Stealing bases.
Yep.
Thank you, Olive Soup, for sending in that topic suggestion. If you've got a topic suggestion, please do send it to us. It is topics@baseline.show.
Kyle, you know what time it is? It's time for the minor league team of the week. Find a sound clip.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Hold on. That was kind of sad.
Well, it's appropriate for the minor leagues where it's like
organ, church organ. What I should do, you know what I need to do is probably do a I need to get my MIDI keyboard hooked up and plug in some sort of like MIDI sounding organ and play it. All right, so let's try that one again.
Kyle, you know what time it is?
It's time for the minor league team of the week. It's a little piratey for me, I guess.
It does sound like a jaunty C tune.
Yeah, a little bit. It was supposed to be like an organ swing sort of thing. It didn't work how I wanted it to, but yeah, it is time for the minor league team of the week.
The minor league team of the week this week. So I've been enjoying popcorn as a snack lately.
Popcorn, get your popcorn.
Yeah, I haven't had popcorn in a while, so I've been enjoying it, and that got me to thinking about corn mascots and corn-based teams. And it turns out there is a minor league team, the Cedar Rapids Colonels. And I've in the show notes or in the doc, you can see I've pasted their logo here.
Yeah.
Their logo is an anthropomorphic ear of corn. And on the cap insignia in particular, the leaves of the ear of corn form roughly a K shape.
I love it. It took me a little while to see that, but I love it.
Yeah. And then the other thing is that this kernel, which also, it's in fact not an ear of corn. It is in fact a bat if you look at it more closely.
It's a bat cob sort of situation. Yeah,
it has a very surly look on his face, and it has a baseball cap with an abnormally large bill. I don't know if you noticed that too. It's a little out of proportion, but I kind of like it.
It's got like a Mighty Ducks vibe going for it a little bit. Yeah, I like it.
So yes, the Cedar Rapids Colonels out of Cedar Rapids, Iowa, which are the affiliate for your Minnesota Twins in Class A minor league baseball.
It's very, very good. I like especially the logo. Is this how long has this team been around?
They've been around a long time. They began play in 1890. And have played a total of 110 seasons through 2015. So they've been in all sorts of different leagues. They've been affiliated with so many different teams as well, major league teams. They've been around a while. They've only been called the Cedar Rapids Colonels since 1993. Before that, they seem to have mostly taken on the name of the major league team that they were affiliated with. So they were the Cedar Rapids Reds, the Cedar Rapids Giants, the Cedar Rapids Astros, and so on. Early on, they started out as the Cedar Rapids Canaries. Then they became the Cedar Rapids Rabbits, then the Cedar Rapids Bunnies, and then the Cedar Rapids Raiders, the Cedar Rapids Rockets, Indians, and so on. So they've had a lot of different names. Their mascot, which is this little corn dude, his name is Mr. Shucks.
Aw,
yeah,
Shucks. Yeah, that's great. I like that.
Yep. And they have a lot of team colors, too. More team colors than I think you would typically have. Their team colors are yellow, red, navy blue, green, and white, which is like most of them.
Now, when you say Mr. Shucks,
Mr. Shucks.
What comes to mind? Please don't look him up yet if you have.
I haven't.
Then this whole game is broken. But
is this a morning show game?
Yes. Paint me a picture. That's That's probably what should happen here. Is you need to draw Mr. Shucks,
minor league mascot, or beloved television character. I don't know. What is a Mr. Shucks? Is that like a Captain Kangaroo?
It kind of feels like it a little bit. Mr. Shucks. I'm gonna send you one in our robo here. Give me one sec. Over here, paste it. Mr. Shucks is a baseball-headed fella who has a tongue sticking out of his mouth, some sort of like a literal button nose, what seems to be a button nose.
Yeah, which on a baseball face doesn't make a great deal of sense, but
no, and the eyes are rather.
They look like giant googly eyes. Yeah.
Well, no, they seem to have, and I'm getting a better view here for you. They do.
Yeah.
They have
wow.
Pupils. It's.
But the fact that his face is stuck permanently as the sticking tongue out emoji, a not winking face, which is the weirdest of the sticking tongue out emojis.
It does have an emoji vibe for sure. Like it's for sure an emoji vibe. And I'm wondering if Mr. Shucks has more history than the Colonels.
I'm sending you, it's that emoji that it looks like. And that emoji is very unsettling because I'm not sure what emotion it's meant to convey.
It's the take my temperature doc because I need a tongue depressor.
It's
please.
The say ah.
Yeah, it's the say ah. Yeah. Say hey. So that's Mr. Shucks. It's a little weird, but
yeah, I'm wondering if his tongue is just permanently anesthetized or something. He's just walking around.
Yeah. That's I got it somewhere. Hey,
live
by
audio
the way,
of Mr. Shucks.
Morning show's back, so go check that out. Goodstuff.fm/morning show. If you like the antics of this show, which there are very few, multiply that by at least 50,000, you'll get morning show.
Dun-dun-dun.
That's right.
Dun-dun-dun. Dun-dun-dun.
Plenty in here. Do you think, though, at the Colonel's Ballpark, whatever it may be called, the
Veterans Memorial Stadium?
Oh, that's not fun. They have to have some sort of better name for that, right? Like the cornfield or the.
I'm looking to see if there's like a nickname for it, but I'm not seeing anything.
The corn maze.
Here it did. They did sell the naming rights in 2008 to the Dale and Thomas Popcorn Company, and it was known as the Dale and Thomas Popcorn Field at Veterans Memorial Stadium.
Very, very good.
Oh,
I like that.
But it's currently called the Perfect Game Field.
I hate it. I don't like that. That's very bad. So in our extra innings here, Andrew, we're going to talk about how we pop popcorn because I'm curious to know if you've got a life hack for your popcorn.
You may be disappointed.
Well, patreon.com/goodstuff. Why not? You're going to want to hear more. You have you also. One of the last jokes I had sort of opened in a tab here was, do you think that this team at their stadium they have a problem in the 8th or 9th inning where they have a Colonel panic? Yeah. Okay.
The good news is you're fired.
Thanks. That's all we've got for this episode. That's right. That's what we need to end with. Boy, that would be great. What you should do,
you can roll it
about
back.
Patreon. Yeah. No, it's fine. It's good. I like it. You can reach us on the internet. Topics@baseline.show is where you can email in those topic suggestions. for us to clumsily talk our way through how you might want to steal a base.
We'll
in
mumble
a
through,
baseball
pretending
game.
that we know things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Ask us questions. I'd love to explain
What you do to
things
steal a base is
don't
you
really
grab
know.
the base and you take it home. There you go, job
That's
done.
right.
It may
Yeah.
be a misdemeanor.
They allow you to do that in certain circumstances if you are in some sort of pregame ceremony. So you may see that happen, but maybe it's like steal. I don't know. Steal a base, steal a taco. That's a thing, right?
Yeah.
Taco Bell.
Right.
Anyway, at baseline_show on Twitter. We'll let you know when new episodes are posted, or you can tweet at us if you want those topic suggestions. We'd love to hear your feedback.
This has been Baseline, and that's the ball game.
Any rebroadcast, retransmission, or account of this game without the express written consent of Goodstuff.fm is prohibited.